So you're thinking of starting an e-commerce business, but you don't really know what you need to do. I'm gonna walk you through how you can start your first e-commerce store with about a $500 budget. So what I find is that a lot of people on here are trying to tell you that you can start an e-commerce business for $0. And while you potentially could start an e-commerce business for very little money, I think telling you that you can start with no money is very unrealistic, especially if you are going to be buying inventory and samples and have packaging and things like that. So I'm gonna walk you through how you can start your first e-commerce business with about a $500 approximate budget. Let's dive into it. If we have not met, my name is Carrie Fitzgerald and I'm an e-commerce strategist and your best friend in the whole e-commerce business world. So the first thing that you're gonna wanna do when you are starting an online store is you wanna come up with a product. You have to know what product you wanna sell. So there are a lot of different options with the e-commerce space in terms of your product, but the biggest thing that you're wanting to get, at least in the beginning, are samples. So you can always pre-sell your products. You can always sell products before you actually supply those to your customers, but you're gonna wanna get samples. And so for the product part of this, I'm going to estimate approximately around 100 to 150 in your budget. So if we're looking at about $500 or $550, 1 to 150 is going to be on getting some product samples. So that might be you finding a wholesale manufacturer in the US. You might get samples from Alibaba overseas, and that's going to contribute to a little bit of your budget. So you might not spend 150, but I'm gonna allocate at the high end 150 for some product. The next thing that you're gonna want to do in your store is you wanna have a website. So we're gonna go with Shopify as always, and if you're interested in Shopify, I have some free resources for you that will help you start your online store and give you a checklist for Shopify, so be sure to download those. So your Shopify store is gonna be to create the website, it's gonna be a zero expense, and here's why. Shopify has really robust themes that you can purchase for about $200 to $300, but they do have free themes as well. And while they aren't as good as the paid ones, there's something to get you started. There's something to help you sell your product, validate your product, make some money in your business, and then you can always do a better theme later. So we're gonna allocate your website at $0. Now, creating the website is gonna take you some time because you're gonna have to figure out how to do it on your own if you're not gonna work with a web developer or someone like me who can help you build out your website. If you're looking for someone to do that, you can always reach out to me. I'll leave my link below if you have any questions on how I can help you create an amazing Shopify website and store. But if you want to do it on your own, you want to save money, you want to be thrifty, then you can do it for $0 using Shopify, and you can use some of the free themes. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to come over to themes.shopify.com. You're going to click on themes. You're going to click on price and toggle that free button there. And then you're just going to come and check out the free themes. So like I said, the paid themes are a lot better. They are a lot better. However, we're going to start scrappy with this website. We're going to start really quick and dirty, and you don't need a paid theme to do that. So you're going to click on the theme, click on view demo, and you're just going to scroll through and just get a gist of will this work for my product? So don't worry about the colors and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of look at the layout and look at some of the features here. And if you don't know what the features are, then just don't even worry about it. Just come and look at the theme overall and just get a sense of do I like it or not, You can kind of just come and check everything out really quickly. This one is a nice one, especially as a free theme. I think this one's a really, really good one, actually. So just choose one that works and then just kind of dive into it. But this is how you would find the themes in here. You just go to themes.shopify and you can scroll through. They have 12 free themes here. And this one actually is a pretty good one. I actually really, really like this one, Crave. It's really, really fun. I really like the boxy shapes of the product pictures too. So this is a really nice one. And it's totally free. So you have no excuse not to start an awesome website, and Shopify makes it freaking easy for you. That's why I love Shopify. So the next expense you're gonna have is a $39 per month expense from Shopify, and that's to host your website on their platform. So the cheapest you can get is a $39 a month for a Shopify hosting. So while the website theme was free, you still have to pay for their access to their store. So all the back end, being able to, sell products legally and all that, your website and all that is gonna be through Shopify, and that's gonna be a $39 a month expense. The next thing that you're gonna have to buy is your packaging. So if you do order samples of products, you wanna send those out to people, or you wanna send those to your first customers, then you need packaging. So we're gonna allocate $50 to packaging. Again, we're being really thrifty here. We're doing bare bones, but you can get some packaging and some samples for about 50 bucks. So you can either do a poly mailer bag, which you can literally buy on something like Amazon, or you can go to like stickermule.com and get some poly mailer bags that you can ship products in. These can be white, they can be black, they can be branded, or you could do a white poly mailer bag and then just get some basic stickers. The other option that you have for packaging is gonna be a box. So you can get a white box, a craft color box, or you can go the custom route and get your boxes designed from someone like a Box Up or Pack Lane. And if you do that, they're gonna cost you, depending on the product size and all that, anywhere from a couple dollars up to like $8, $9. So they're definitely a big expense. So I would recommend just doing the simple route at first. It could be a poly mailer bag with a sticker, which that would cost you about $1 per bag. And you can also do a plain box and with a sticker or packaging tape. That might cost you a couple bucks. So again, we're looking at the bare bones here to get started, but you do have to have packaging to ship your product out. And for packaging, you can, again, get boxes, you can get poly mailers, but if you want to get the cheapest thing possible, you can kind of head over to Amazon and you can literally get a white poly mailer bag here. You can get smaller quantities, you can get different colors. I really love colored poly mailer bags. I just think they make the experience a lot more fun for a customer. So you can get a couple here and you could, spend 10 bucks, 11 bucks, and you can get some purple bags. Just make sure the size obviously matches your product. I mean, things like this are super fun. So this one is $26. It's definitely a little bit more expensive. So you definitely don't have to go this expensive, even though it's not, in the scheme of things, this is not super expensive. But depending on the vibe of your brand, and what you're selling, you can kind of go crazy with some of these patterns on the bag. So I personally am a huge fan of poly mailers. And again, if you can make it work, you could do a plain bag, you could get a sticker and kind of go from there. And then you can go to a website such as, let's just use packlane.com. And I'm going to use a sponsored click, sorry. And here is where you can get just some samples of boxes. So you don't have to get a ton of boxes. You can get a couple boxes. You could click on mailer box and you can kind of go from there in designing it. But you could say quantity is going to be 10 and our box size is going to be, let's just say 6 by 6 by 2. We're going to do white material. We're going to do printed on the outside. You can also do both sides. It's going to increase the cost, but printing on the inside is fantastic. But for now, we're going to do the cheapest thing. We're going to do outside. We're going to do 10 boxes and we're going to do standard business day production. And it's going to be $89. So again, you can go cheaper here, but if you're wanting just to get a couple boxes, you're wanting to just do some samples, you can do a pack lane. The next thing that you're gonna need is branding and your logo. So again, we're gonna give this $0 because why? We can all use canva.com. So Canva is a free tool where you can create a logo. You can basically come up with your brand colors and your fonts right in Canva. So you don't have to splash out on a developer. You don't have to splash out on a logo. If you wanted to spend a little bit of money, you can always go to somewhere like Fiverr or Upwork, and you can get a very affordable logo. For my first business, I actually got my logo for my brand, the Dapper Dog Box, from someone in, I think she was in Indonesia, and I think it cost me about $10 to $20, and it was a really, really nice logo. So we don't need to go the route of a fancy branding person up front. Your logos are always very overrated, like no one cares. Just start with the bare bones, sell your product, validate your idea, and then go into logos and things that are a little bit more expensive over time. But if we're looking for the free route, like the free dirt cheap, canva.com. All right, the super quick and dirty way to do your logo on Canva. We're gonna come over to Canva, we're gonna type in logo, and we're gonna start simple, my friends. You don't need to splash out a ton of money on a logo. So you can scroll through, see what feels good for you, see what you like, you know? If you wanna just type out your brand name with something simple like this, go for it. You know, if I'm gonna be doing, let's say, Magnolia blankets, come here. I mean, literally, like that could be your logo. Okay. Is that the best color? Absolutely not. Let's say we want to do this, and maybe we do this one with this like bright fuchsia pink. I mean, I still think that looks pretty cute. And that could be our brand logo. So you can literally create a logo in about 2 minutes on Canva. You do not need to spend a lot of money. Just find a font that you really like. And again, with Canva, you can play around with fonts. So if you click on this, we're like, okay, I don't really like that font. So let's find a different font that I might like. You come to, let's see, font, and you can come here and you can look at the different options. So I'm not going to go too much into detail on this kind of stuff, but you can essentially scroll through here and just get a couple of ideas for fonts. Like if you know your brand is going to be really modern, you can click modern, and you can just kind of scroll through and just choose something else, you know, choose 2 fonts that look good together. So if you test a couple things out and you're like, that looks hideous, then don't use that font. You can literally Google font combinations, font pairings. You can get a ton of ideas for free online, but this is how you can kind of do branding and your fonts and colors and everything really quickly. If you want to sort of do some things for your colors, you can kind of come back. I'm going to give you my quick and dirty tip for this. You can come over here, click mood board, and you're just going to choose something like quick. You're going to come over here, and then you want to kind of play around with some colors. So if you have no idea where to get started, head over to Pinterest and just type in like website theme examples, and it will give you some examples of color palettes that you can use. But you could essentially come over here, and it's going to give you like some options for colors and branding and things like that. So you can kind of use Canva to play around. But my best advice for you is if you find a website that you like, you can literally take a screenshot of it. You can upload the picture. Let's say you come to a website and you're like, oh my God, I love all these brown and mustardy colors. You can add this to your Canva page. Then you click on the mood board template. You click on the plus sign, click on the little color dropper, hover it over the color on the photo, and it's going to give you that exact color. Let's do the next one really quickly. We're going to do this really maroon, not maroon, whatever the color is. And see, now we have the exact color. So when you find a website that you really like, you love the colors, you love the vibe, just go with someone else's colors that they've already chosen. It's totally fine. You're going to have a different brand and a different style. I would just not use the same colors as someone who, you know, like you don't want to use the same colors as someone who is a competitor or things like that. But I think for inspiration, you can kind of look at what's already out there in the world and just kind of look at color combinations that work well for you. Like you definitely don't want to copy 100% because, you know, this company here has definitely paid good money to get their branding done for them. So you don't want to copy them, but I think it's always good to use other brands as inspiration. So you could take like 2 colors from here, and then you're like, you know what? I actually want to add in this color, this like really pale off-white or creamy gray. And then actually like I want to go in here and I want to add maybe like this beige cream color. Like that actually looks really, that color combination looks awesome together. So you're not using their exact colors because they have a lot of dark greens. They have some other colors there. So it's just a way to kind of get branding done in a scrappy kind of way. So we're gonna have other things like payment processing fees and that kind of thing. I'm not really including that in this video because that's really after someone buys your product. It's not really an upfront cost, but just know that when you do have a Shopify store and you connect to a Stripe or a PayPal, there's always gonna be small fees that are associated with a transaction for that. All right, next up, we are looking at things like business licenses, LLC, DBAs, your permits. So this expense is going to vary depending on where you live in the country. So for example, if you get an LLC in Washington State versus in Texas versus in Massachusetts, they're gonna all be different fees. So your legal stuff is something that you can start off with on a very simple way. So for my business, I started off doing a DBA, doing business as. The filing fees were, I think, maybe $50 or less in California. And then over time, I then started an LLC. So the LLC at that point, I did work with a lawyer and I think the charges were around $1,000. You don't have to go that route. You can literally, you know, YouTube is your friend. YouTube, you can find videos where people tell you how to form an LLC. You just go to your state, they give you the paperwork, you fill it out, you send it off. So if you want to do it the free route, you can do that yourself. It's still going to cost you. So we're going to allocate around $200 approximately for your legal fees. So if you file on your own, if you get your permits, if you get your licenses for your state, depending on what you need for the state you live in, we're gonna allocate around $200. It might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less, depending on where you live. And you might want to look into doing something like a LegalZoom if you know you're not sure how to do this kind of stuff. But again, if you're looking to start really simple, you can always start off with a DBA, which is doing business as. It's really the most simple way to get started, and it's very, very cheap. And you can always graduate to an LLC once you actually make money. And you're gonna hear me say that over and over again. You can do the bigger things that cost more money once you make money, once you sell your product, because now your idea has been validated with sales. So before you splash out with that stuff that you don't need, make sales first. So the next thing that you're gonna need, and this feels like kind of an expense that you might think that you don't need. And so if you have an office printer at home and you already can print off paper with black ink, then you won't need the expense that I'm gonna mention next, which is a Dymo label printer. You can get one of these for about $100. It's basically a label printer that when you go to ship your orders, again, this is kind of an expense that you need once you make a sale. But I think if you are serious about your e-commerce business, having a label printer is gonna be a game changer for you. You can buy one for about $100 and you can get the labels, they're a little bit more money. And now you have a way to ship orders to people. So when I started my first product-based business, I actually used my printer to print off the labels on a piece of paper. Then I had to cut out and then tape on the box. It was such a nightmare. And when I got my label printer, it was a game changer for me. So again, I used Dymo label printer. It's the best. All right, and the last expense that we're gonna cover today, because really, you can do a lot of things in a very scrappy way. We're gonna talk about your domain. So your domain is really, really important. If you have a Shopify store, you still want your own domain that you can connect to your store. So that's gonna be your www.brandname.com. So this can be anywhere from like a couple bucks to $100. Honestly, you can go to GoDaddy.com, you can go to namecheap.com. I always buy my domains from GoDaddy, and generally they're about 20 bucks like for the year, so pretty cheap. And then if you want to use that domain email, I think it's a small expense. I can't remember off the top of my head what it costs, maybe $10. But you can actually get the domain email that goes along with your domain, or you can sign up for something like G Suite, which I love, which is Google Mail. So it's connected to your domain, but it shows up in your account as Gmail. So it's just easier to kind of navigate through rather than like an Outlook email. So that's gonna be about $20 to $30 total. So let's just recap of our spend here. So we're at about $560 approximately to start and launch your e-commerce store. That's including inventory, packaging, your domain, your Shopify monthly payments and things like that. While you may have other expenses and while you may spend less money, this is gonna give you a good ballpark viewpoint of how much money realistically it will cost you to start an e-commerce store with inventory, with samples. So when someone buys something from you, you actually can ship a product to them right away. So there's always gonna be more things you can spend money on. I spent a lot of money on really stupid things when I started my first product-based business, which is why I'm really passionate about just reminding you that you don't need all the bells and whistles when you start. You can start simple and then you can expand over time after you make sales. If you love this video, be sure to give me the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and we'll have new videos every single Friday for you to watch on either starting or growing your e-commerce business. And then I have 2 freebies for you that you can grab in the show notes below. One is gonna be a Shopify checklist. It's gonna help you to not only start your e-commerce store, but know what you need to set up a Shopify store. And then another checklist is a e-commerce, like how to start your e-commerce store checklist. So be sure to grab those too. And if you have any questions or you love this video, be sure to let me know in the comments.